Hello. I wanted to have a sit-down talk video, and I'm going to talk the best I can about my opinion on relationships and why it seems like there's a lot of issues in relationships these days. This is going to be based on my experience and opinions, so bear with me. I'm gonna try to say it all in a coherent way. Relationships, defined by Google, is the way in which two or more people or concepts or objects are connected to each other, or the state of being connected. So maybe first I should talk about my experience with relationships. I've been in many relationships, many different kinds of relationships. And when I'm saying relationships, I mean both friendships and partnerships. I am monogamous, but that's another section that we're going to talk about at some point. Okay, so my first real long-term relationship was when I was 16 in high school. It lasted about 2 years. Didn't end very well, but it didn't end awfully either. It ended because of me not knowing what was going on with me. I was not in a good mental place. I didn't really know what that meant either. I didn't realize that it was affecting my relationship so much, but it was. And then that led me to years of trying to learn what it meant to loving myself, which leads me to my next point is I think the number one base of a good functioning relationship is first the relationship we have with ourselves, because the relationship we have with ourselves is the relationship we will be in for our entire lives. This doesn't mean that you should be able to live alone without other people. No, humans are not made to live in solitariness, in solitude. That being said, being okay with being alone for a certain period of time, or sometimes challenging yourself with something like Vipassana meditation, which is a 10-day solo, not talking to anyone else kind of meditation retreat, if you could call it that. They call it a course, but it's easier to understand the concept if you call it a retreat. Like that kind of challenge is good, but eventually you will need other people in your life to feel good or to feel like a human, because humans are one of the species that depend on each other the most. So loving yourself means, according to me and my experience, being able to recognize your feelings, being able to separate yourself from other people's anger when they're like lashing out at you, or like if something happens and you react a certain way, being able to be like, why am I reacting this way and where is this coming from, rather than reacting and blaming everything else. Like there is a balance in everything in life. So it's like, it's not that it's that person's fault, but it's not that it's your fault. It's that there's some sort of interaction going on where this person's energy or this person's reactions are affecting me in a certain way. So I might want to react a certain way, but where can I come to like this neutral point where I'm observing the situation and reacting on the certain situation based on what I'm observing on it? So I could like take a step back, take a deep breath, and assess the situation, make a decision then. That's self-love. Self-love is also taking time to think about what brings joy in our own life and taking action to bringing those things that bring us joy in our life, and trusting that the more we act on joy or actions that bring us joy, the more we will attract the people in our lives that bring us joy. This is a very complex subject because there's also the whole like relationship with the parents thing, and yes, this is very like psychology 101 type of thing, but it is true, like we do learn our reactions and behaviors based on the environment that we grew up in, and this will really affect how we interact with other people in the long run, for the most part. So to go back to my whole relationship experience, so after that 2-year-long relationship, I got kind of in a phase where I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really have very many like friends, mostly just because I felt like I didn't really feel like I connected with other people at the age that I was. So I was 18 at the time. I was in first year university studying music, and everybody in freshman year of university or college or whatever, everybody drinks and everybody parties and they just don't feel like they're really grounded with themselves. And I now realize that I've always kind of been like an old soul type of thing, and what that means is that, I mean, this is gonna sound a little bit egotistical, but you're a little bit wiser than other people, and I think that this maybe is because I grew up in an environment where people were partying a lot, and I sort of learned by observing that what they were doing just seemed kind of stupid and kind of unnecessary. What I did instead is I would find a partner or someone that I would latch onto, usually a male, because that is usually who I'm more romantically attracted to. And I would just isolate myself with them, spend a lot of time with them. That would sort of give me purpose in life. And usually the person I would latch onto was in a mental state where I had to be there for him. So this gave me some sort of like motherly figure purpose in my life. I felt like I was needed, and it just gave me something to put my energy into. Yeah, I sort of like bounced from relationship to relationship, looking for relationships online, until eventually I got into a pretty rocky one. And these relationships were short term. They only really lasted 6 months until I realized like, whoa. So I like fast tracked myself into all these different relationships until I hit this point where I just had to just go back home, reset, restart, and that's when I got into yoga. So that's when I started practicing yoga, that's when I started meditating, and that's when I started really noticing these patterns in myself and being like, whoa, okay. That didn't stop me from getting into yet another relationship with someone who was emotionally a little bit unstable. But that last relationship really helped me, because at the end of that, I was like, whoa. I realized that I was falling for ideas of people rather than the person itself, which is kind of unfair to the person that I was dating. But I mean, what was cool is that I have kept good contact with these people, with most of the people I've dated. Some people I just don't really talk to anymore, which is fine. So after I realized that I was falling for ideas of people rather than the people themselves, I was also just transitioning into a more authentic state. And it's funny because I'm the kind of person that when I'll not be in a relationship anymore, I will tell myself, okay, I'm not looking for anything. I'm just gonna do me and just appreciate being single because I'm not single enough. And then lo and behold, somebody else waltzes into my life naturally. That's when I found the partner that I'm with now. This is the most healthiest relationship I've ever been in, and maybe I'll go ahead and explain why. But I do want to also mention, because this was part of the things that I wanted to talk about, is to find what kind of relationship works for you. And it seems here that I'm talking more about romantic relationships, but this also applies to friendships. And I would like to mention that I'm not perfect. I feel like I have a harder time with friendships and finding friends that I feel 100% good and comfortable with and like not bored when I'm with people. Like I don't feel like I have the need to have very many friends, but I know that it's important. So that's something that I'm currently working on, is finding friendships, because partnerships, like romantic partners, have been easy for me. So for some, polyamory works for them. I've questioned polyamory. I don't think it's wrong. It totally makes sense to me. It's just right now where I am in my life, that's just not what brings me joy. But it's not because it doesn't bring me joy that I don't think that it's a thing that works for other people. So find the kind of relationship that works for you. Be honest in your relationships. Ask yourself what your needs are, and what you can put up with. But if you're in a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone and they keep doing things that you just cannot put up with, and you just keep being like, if only this person would just stop doing this, then we could actually be friends, but I'm just going to keep being friends with. You have to ask yourself, like, is what they do or what they're doing, can I put up with that? Because you can't really change someone unless they want to change. But if you're telling someone you need to stop doing this, then you're not really supporting their authenticity. You're just trying to shape them into the person that you want them to be. And then if you are able to express those needs to other people, you will feel less drained when you're around others. I know that when I spend time with a lot of people, I feel drained because I feel like it's hard for me to express my authenticity sometimes. Basically, I'm gonna try to just wing it down to a few points here. So number one, if we are finding ourselves in relationships that we keep disliking or it keeps ending not well, where is this coming from? Number two, what relationship do I want? Find what brings you joy. Do the things that bring you joy. And you might notice that things that bring you joy are being attracted into your life. If like you involve yourself in communities that partake activities that you enjoy, then you might find other people that are interested in similar things as you or have similar lifestyles. Number three, find what kind of relationship works for you. So are you looking for something that's monogamous, long-term? Are you more into open relationships or polyamory? Do you not want a romantic relationship at all? Like, are you just looking for friendships? Like, what kind of relationships do you want in your life? Find what you need. So what do you want from a relationship? What are you willing to give into a relationship? If something is bothering you about another person, are you willing to put up with this in your life? Or is it better to just let that go? And letting people go usually brings on grief. And grief is a crazy thing. There's a lot of like shame and guilt because we feel like we are hurting another person by leaving them. But really we are just opening up or putting space into our life for the things that bring us joy. The thing is about relationships, especially with the whole relationship with ourself thing, is that sometimes it's hard living with ourselves. I have days sometimes where I'm just so tired of myself and I want to leave my body. That sounds suicidal. I'm not saying that I want to kill my body, but sometimes I just feel like taking a break from my body for a second. And this is probably why a lot of people probably experience addictions and stuff. Everybody has a vice, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, or sex, or there's so many ways to be addicted to things. I'll just be vulnerable and say that my thing is weed. I don't smoke weed every day. And when I do, it's not very much. And I keep justifying myself here. Haha. Yeah, like sometimes I smoke weed just to take a break from myself. And I think that I'm coming to a place where I'm feeling less guilty about that because we all need to be imperfect somehow, you know? That is all I'm gonna say for today. If you are watching this, thank you. I'm, again, just practicing the whole art of saying things to other people, saying my opinions to other people. This is a way of me expressing self-love by telling myself that what I have to say is valid and I can take my time getting better at expressing myself. More videos to come. Thank you for watching and peace.